Hey, how's it going? One thing I get asked quite frequently when I turn up and meet up with other people who own Astra H's, specifically VXRs, is how I fit my boost gauge. It's just here, so let me just show you. That's it there. It's nothing too flash. It wasn't even that expensive, to be honest. I picked it up on eBay for around about $40. And people just want to know how I fit it, so I thought I would just point out a couple of things that might make it a bit easier for you to do. First of all, it's not compulsory that you fit it here. I just wanted it there, and that's where I put it. But what I'll show you will still help you fit it pretty much anywhere you want. Some people will put it up here on a pillar. You can also buy a replacement vent so that you can actually have it sitting there as well. I like my aircon too much, so I decided to leave it. So, a couple of things to note. From a power perspective, all the power you're going to draw is going to be under here. Under the cigarette lighter, there is a positive and negative that runs your cigarette lighter, and then there is another spare wire which kind of sits below where my finger is. That spare wire is an ignition live, which means it only turns on when you turn the key, and that's the one you want to tap. So basically, the positive lead from your gauge will tap off the spare wire, and you can just take the ground off the ground for the cigarette lighter or any other ground on the car. That's not too hard. To actually get under this tray, there's two ways you can do it. The first one is you can pull your stereo out, and then there are some screws, and you basically just clip all this out. The alternative is that you can pop this unit out under here, like that, and then you've got two screws here. Pull that up, and you can get to this again. But I personally remove the stereo because I think that's a lot easier. And a lot less hassle as well. So pop the stereo out, pop this out, and that will pop out as well. Not too hard. Now, the other question I get asked is where you actually run all your vacuum lines. So, let me just get some light on the engine bay and I'll show you how that works. Okay, so obviously in this example it's on a Astra VXR engine bay. However, they're all pretty similar from when it comes to the turbo models. So the things that you'll need to note regarding running the actual vacuum line, I ran the vacuum line through a grommet. Let me just get this out of your way. It helps if you do take that off as well. That's just the sensor for your bonnet alarm. So you'll see where that big thick white cable is going. That's just a grommet that you can push through or stab through or remove, and that's where I ran the vacuum line. You can kind of see it there as well. Basically, when you push the vacuum line through that, it will drop down to where your pedals are inside the car, and that's generally the best place to start when you're running your vacuum line to the gauge. From there, the actual vacuum line comes up, and what you tap into, and I'll try and get the camera to focus on it, but basically you're tapping into the fuel pressure regulator. So hopefully this will actually focus. So basically, if you're able to see that on the camera, that's what you're tapping into. Basically you're teeing into the fuel pressure regulator and teeing it off so that it goes towards the gauge. Really simple stuff, to be honest. Takes you 2 seconds and a wire cutter or similar. And basically the reason why you take it from the fuel pressure regulator is that is the most accurate, stable and reliable source for boost readings on these cars. You'll see also there's a little inline filter just there. Not all gauges come with that. Mine did, so I used it, but from what I've heard, it's not the end of the world whether you do or don't. So those are your key things really. Use that grommet up the back, run the power from under the cigarette lighter, and that's really it. It's a very simple process. The first time you do it, it'll probably take maybe kind of 2 to 3 hours of kind of learning everything for the first time. But once you've done that, you can bang one out really quickly. So yeah, that's it. Hopefully that will help other people trying to fit their gauge.